The Easter event has come to Ghost Simulator, and with it, it brought a whole lot of new content and actually a really interesting new concept for how events work in the game. And so, because of that, I've decided to go ahead and make this video to both let you guys know how the event works, how to best play the event, and then also to go through a lot of the small things that you probably need to know when you are doing the event for yourselves. And so, with that, let's go ahead and get into how this event works. Now, unlike previous events in Ghost Simulator, this event is actually just going to be in the main hub, rather than being its own event world or something like that we have in previous Easter events, previous Christmas events, and previous Halloween events. It's just going to be sitting here in main hub. Pretty easy for you guys to find, so I'm not worried too much about that. The only difference here is that even though it is in the main hub, like a lot of small events are, this will actually be a big event, since it has key chests, it has a shop and a crafting station like a lot of bigger events have in the past. And then also in addition to that, it will be lasting 6 weeks instead of the normal 2 or 4 weeks that smaller events usually last, which on top of that means if you aren't able to play it soon, you do have plenty of time to get the stuff you want from this event, because of how long it is lasting. Another thing is, because this is in the main hub, there isn't any dedicated boss area where you'd go stand in a circle and wait for a boss to come, or in this case it's going to be an invasion is the event that you'll have to do for keys. And so because of that, what the devs actually did is bundled it with the race and boss events. So rather than having this timer up here signify a boss or race, they've added into every other event being an invasion event. So you'll end up doing a race, an invasion, a boss, an invasion, race, invasion, like that. In addition to that, these invasions can only be joined if you're on when the timer gets down. So if you come in the middle of invasion, there is no way to join it like there is with bosses. So keep that in mind. You probably will want to be staying in the same server if you plan on doing that. And yeah, this does make a lot more sense once you actually get into them. So we'll go ahead and skip over to me showing off an invasion event. Another small change that they have made is that this text up here will now tell you what event is next in Ghost Simulator. Previously, it just said next event in this amount of time. Now you're actually able to see whether it's an invasion, a race, or a boss event, which is actually a really good quality of life change that people have been asking for a long time too. So for anyone wondering, there is that very large quality of life change that also got added in this update, even though it is an event update. But yeah, when an invasion event comes along, for instance, if we use an event bait with one coming up, you'll get prompted to go ahead and join the event. You have to go ahead and click this fast travel, otherwise you won't get into the event. Once you get into the event, you'll be teleported to this invasion area that's always the same. Inside this event, you will have a few different things that you'll need to work on. Your main focus is going to be protecting these little wards that are located in the center of the area from the ghosts that spawn from the portals on the side of the area. As you guys can see, you can do it with multiple people. Ideally, from my testing, you want to be doing it around 3 if you guys all know what you're doing, but having more will not make it any harder in my opinion. So as many as you like, and doing it in public servers is probably advised so you can get through these events as efficiently as possible. Now anyways, the events itself are comprised of different waves. As you can see, we are on wave 1. In each wave, some amount of ghosts will spawn. This increases as you do more waves. So the ghosts will spawn from all the portals. In total, there are 3 portals, so that's why you want to be getting 3 people so that one person can camp each portal. It's a little bit of a cheese strategy, but it is technically the best strategy. There's also 3 different invasion sizes: medium, small, and large. Right now we're in a medium one. The difference between these is actually mainly just the amount of ghosts that spawn. In a small event, there's a lot less ghosts that spawn in each wave. It's typically allowed to be like soloed or something, so there's not as many ghosts. But ideally, you'd still want to have 3, but you can make do with less. In medium, there's a medium amount of ghosts that spawn, and in large, there's a large amount of ghosts spawn. Each different size also has a different amount of waves that they have in them. Small only goes up to wave 3. Medium goes up to wave 5, and then large goes up to wave 10. And because of this, and the fact that they have more ghosts spawning at base anyways, you'll end up getting a lot of ghosts in the later rounds of those bigger. Now, as I said before, each of the ghosts do spawn from portals. So very good strategy is to just have 3 people or more people just camp the portals to it and then vacuum them as they come out of the portal. It's a very easy strategy to do, and has very little downsides. Since you are vacuuming the ghost as efficient as possible, you're getting through it as fast as possible. Since you're at the choke points where the ghosts have to spawn, you're going to be able to get every ghost. The only thing that is actually might be a problem is if other people aren't reliable in your things, they can end up leaking ghosts, and you aren't going to be able to know about them until the end of the wave, because you aren't going to be really keeping track of how many ghosts are like spawning your stuff. So ideally you'd want to go with as many people as you can that can reliably actually deal with the ghosts. In terms of stuff that can actually help you deal with the ghosts, if you've played through the game before, you're going to know that there's quite a bit of perks in the game that can actually help you really well in these events by helping you deal with ghosts. One of the most obvious ones that you guys can probably see me using is actually multiple streams. As ghosts start to spawn quicker and quicker, it's actually helpful to be able to attach and vacuum 3 or 4 or even up to 5 ghosts at a time. These perks are actually not too hard to get. Getting up to 3 streams can be easily done if anyone goes ahead and does Finsley, which is located in the beach, which is the 4th area in Ghost Simulator. So, or the 3rd main area in Ghost Simulator, the 3rd progression quest in the game, and isn't too hard to get to if you put a little bit of time into it. It will probably take new players around 10 hours to get, and we'll end up saving quite a bit of time during these events since they're able to vacuum pretty much triple their speed on vacuuming up the ghosts. Another thing that can be really helpful if you are endgame is getting the Master Hunter Rebirth perk, which gives you an additional 2 streams, which stacks with Finsley for a total of 5 streams, which isn't super helpful for the smaller sizes like medium or small, but once you get up to large, having 5 streams can even get overwhelmed, which is one of the first times I've seen that get overwhelmed. Another thing to note is that you can actually use gums too to improve your speed of vacuuming these ghosts. Specifically, I like to use loot gum while vacuuming ghosts to get more loot from each of the ghosts. But you can also go ahead and use vacuum gum to go ahead and vacuum these ghosts quicker. Now, when it comes to the currencies in this event, there's 2 currencies that you have to deal with. Eggs, which you can see on the sidebar, and then also keys that you can get in your inventory, which is a little bit harder to keep track of, but it is a mythical, so it is pretty easy to find when you do look for it. Both these currencies can be obtained from the invasion, from different areas. The eggs are pretty obvious to see. You get them from each ghost that you vacuum, which will drop a certain amount of eggs. And the amount of eggs you get is actually based on the amount of health or rarity of the ghost. The lower health ghosts are the normal rarity ghosts, similar to how they are in main hub. And the rarer ghosts are the higher health ghosts, and they drop a little bit more eggs, like around double. There's also a special ghost that spawns at the ends of round 3, 5, 7, 8, 9, and 10, which has a lot of health, 100 health in total, and will drop a corresponding greater amount of keys, around 5 times that of the lower health ghosts. But eggs are pretty easy to understand. A very good way to grind them is to go ahead and use Glitchy Loot Gum, like I said before, to go ahead and get multiply your drops by them. You can also be helped a lot by also having the double items game pass. But overall, it's a pretty easy grind for them. Just need to vacuum ghosts during the events and you'll get them. The other currency, though, keys, is a little bit harder to understand how you get. You end up getting one of them or 2 of them dropped from the end of an event. It doesn't tell you that you get them from the end of the event, since there is no pop-up or anything like that. They just get added to your inventory once you complete an invasion event. You actually get a little bit more from large events. Both small and medium invasion events, you will end up getting 1 key from base, and then for large events, you will end up getting 2 keys from this base. This amount of keys can also be affected by some drop rates, very similar to the eggs, except in this case, you'll be using your boss drops. So if you have double boss drops, you'll end up getting double the keys. So for small and medium, you'll get 2. For large, you'd get 4. And then it's also affected by the Easter event pass, although that is more of just an additional 1 key, not doubling. So for small events, you'd go from 2 to 3 if you already have the double boss drops, and for large events, you'd go from 4 to 5 or 6. I don't know exactly which one, but yeah. Additional to that, you can also have these drops affected by boss gum. I don't have any at the moment, but it is a mythical rarity gum, which is kind of hard to grind if you grind for gum, which will go ahead and multiply the amount you get after your boss drops multiplier. So if you have glitchy boss gum, for example, which is a 4 times boss multiplier, and use that on a large event, with the double boss drops equipped, you'd go ahead and get 2 times 2, 4 times 4 for 16 keys. And then if you additionally have the Easter event pass, you'd get another additional key, or maybe 2 for 17 or 18 total keys from a large event. Because of this, you guys can kind of see that the event pass is pretty much not worth it unless you don't plan on using boss gum during the event, which based on how long the event takes to do, it's actually highly recommended to go ahead and be using boss gum, just because you can grind gum faster than you can use the gum. And so overall, it's just more time efficient to just go ahead and use boss gum. So yeah, in my opinion, it is not worth it to go ahead and buy this Easter event pass to grind for the keys. You're much better off just going ahead and using the other 2 drop methods. Now these currencies can be used in this event area, very similar to how it is in normal events. You can buy chests with keys or crates or boards from the board shop for the eggs. Pretty easy to understand. I think most of you guys understand. The one thing to note about this event though is that the legendary / godly chest is actually only 5 keys. So if you're trying to get yourself a godly or something, it's going to be much easier than it has been in previous events where this crate usually costs 25 keys or something like that, which is really nice because this event is actually a lot harder to grind keys than previous events. For instance, in the last Christmas event, you'd grind a tower for your keys. Tower took around 6 to 7 minutes to complete and would end up giving base players 4 keys for it, whereas this event will take even longer to do for even the large event and only give 2 keys per base. So if you are planning on grinding keys in this event, you will be wanting to make use of boss gum for that, and you will be having to grind quite a bit longer, or because of how much you need it. But for the most part, these cheaper chests shouldn't be too much of a problem for people to get, just because they are a lot cheaper than they usually end up being in events. In addition to this, eggs aren't too much of a problem as long as you keep playing. Stuff here is pretty cheap. As you guys can see, I probably got around 3,000 eggs from one medium event. You'll get even more from large events as they start spewing out a lot more ghosts. A little bit less from smaller events. But endgame wise, it's pretty easy. For new players, it's a little bit harder, but shouldn't be as much of a struggle as going for one of these 250 key chests. But yeah, for anyone who doesn't know how to actually grind gum and who would be like to know how to grind this event more efficiently because of gum, I have a video that will be linked somewhere on the screen now on how you guys can actually go grind gum. This is requiring you to be actually endgame in Ghost Simulator, so up to backdoor at least of the game, which isn't something super easy for new players. But new players can even use some of the basic gum that they have got from other parts of the game on this event without too much of an issue. But yeah, the only other thing that we have in the event itself for pets and boards is going to be the quest, which is pretty easy and self-explanatory for you guys to do, and then crafting, which is also pretty self-explanatory for you to do. But yeah, basically you craft in specific pets and boards. For you guys, these last 2 are going to be grayed out, and these last 3 would be grayed out. But if you want to know the recipes, these are what they are. You can figure out them based on hints. Somewhat, they're decent hints. But yeah, they're also on the wiki. There might be some new crafting recipes later. If you look up the hints, you can usually figure out what the hidden ones are. And even though it just says board, it wants a specific one, so it isn't just any board will work for the crafting recipe. And with that, that is everything to make do that you guys need to know to actually make the most out of this Easter event. Hopefully you guys like this Easter event. If you guys don't, let me know in the comments, and if you do, let me know too. But I'm thinking, based on people's reactions, that people are liking this Easter event a lot more than they liked last year's, even though it is a very similar concept where last year we had a egg defense sort of deal with the Easter event. Where it was very similar, where ghosts were attacking something and you had to vacuum them. The only difference there was it was a little bit more of a simpler arena and didn't have those choke points of the portals. I think with the choke points of the portals, it makes it a little bit easier to just cheese and not have to really think about the event. But anyways, with that, I will see you guys in probably a stream at some point grinding the event, and hope you guys have as much fun with this event as I think I will have.